I'm going to be working on today is showing you how I build my temporary light pole. Welcome back to the channel, guys, if you're a subscriber. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for update on videos I post on my channel and hit that notification bell so you know when it's coming. Anyway, what I'm working on today is I'm building a extension wire light pole for a remote area in my yard. So what I've got is a 10 feet 4 by 4 and an 8 feet 4 by 4, and I'm going to proceed to connect these two together. You want to make sure your 4 by 4 is pressure treated and straight when you pick it up. Proceed and mark the distance. I went down about 18 inches from the top. I marked it down where I'm going to cut this post in half, 18 inches down. You want to make sure that you mark your post on the piece that you're going to be removing and make sure it's in the middle. That way, when you stitch these two posts back together, you get a even straight post from top to bottom without uh, a big overlap or gap that you need to fix. So go ahead and mark both posts side by side and get all your measurements straight and squared. Once you get that squared, you can go ahead and get your saw. I have two saw, a battery operated circular saw and a regular corded circular saw. So I use my battery operated circular saw and adjust the blade depth to the distance that I needed to cut off. Once I got that piece cut, I went ahead and took my circular saw, which has a guided edge, and cut straight down the line that needs to be removed. You can see my circular saw also has a laser guide, so I use that. Then with the circular saw, you can get a straight cut, so I use the jigsaw to finish up the end piece. When I did both sides, the piece will just drop right off. So you wouldn't have to do anything else. There's no chiseling or smoothing, just some fine tuning of the little edge, and that would be it. You want to repeat the process on the next piece of 4 by 4 and then line them up to make sure that the connection is good. What I did next was I got a 24-inch of plywood that I cut 4 inches wide and I strap it down to the two sides of the 4 by 4. This way I can hold it straight in place while I put some bolts in. So I kind of tack it down. I'll finish screwing it up after I attach my bolts. I went ahead and got my drill and I proceeded to drill 3 holes to where I want to attach these bolts. These bolts should be about 4 inches long and they should be galvanized bolts. In addition, you should always be aware of where you put those holding screw that's attaching the plywood to the side, because when you go to drill the holes for your bolts, your drill bit may come in contact with those screws and you can ruin your bit. So be aware of that. Once you get your bolts in, you want to make sure that your bolts are galvanized, including the washers. Your bolts should be 4 inches. I bought 4.5 by accident without thinking that the 4x4 is less than 4x4. They're usually a little bit shorter. That's just the way lumber is measured. So you would see it sticking out. A 4-inch bolt probably work for this job. I went ahead and reinforced the side of the plywood with some extra 3.5-inch screws. So I went ahead and screwed these screws in to give it extra strength on this plywood. Once I got done reinforcing the plywood to the 4x4 on the sides, I went ahead and flipped the post over on the bolted side and added some screws to reinforce that side of the post. A couple of screws straight in is just fine. Once I got done with that, I proceeded to paint the post. I painted from top to bottom, left to right, everywhere was painted. You want to give it 2 coats of paint, exterior paint. That way it would last a little bit longer than normal. After my paint was dried, I went ahead and started assembling my light fixture from the top to the bottom. I placed because the base of this light is wider than the 4x4. I installed a 12 by 8 piece of painted plywood on the top to hold the light fixture. Once I installed it on top, I went ahead and pre-drilled the holes for the base of this light fixture. That way I can put the bolts in easy. By design, how this light fixture is, the drill cannot screw this in. So you would need some type of combination wrench or a ratchet to hold the light in place. By the way, this light is a dusk till dawn light. However, I did some modification where I added an on-off switch so I can turn it on and off at will. Now I'm getting my light all screwed in. I'm gonna go ahead and glue the top piece, working my way down. So everything will be glued in place. Once I get everything glued in for the light, I'm gonna work my way down to the bottom, and I've got 3 exterior junction boxes. These are exterior weatherproof junction boxes. I ran my wire through, strip it down, and proceed to install the switch that controls the on-off for the light. I'm gonna go ahead and move on and install an outlet. I figured if I have a light in the remote area of this property and I'm gonna run an extension cord, I'm also might need some type of power. So I installed an outlet in the event I want to charge my phone or play a radio or I need to do anything that require power. So I installed an outlet in the second junction box. Once that's done, I move on to wiring my power input. So I make sure I got all my ground wires connected, my hot and my neutral, and I'm going to proceed to wiring the input power. Now that I got all my wires all connected, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that I connect my neutral going up to the light itself, wire nut to neutral, verify that all the grounds are connected and all wires are plugged in place. Make sure I tighten down all switches and receptacles tight to the frame. Once everything is secured in place, I'm gonna go ahead and install my weatherproof cover. This weatherproof light switch cover works perfect for exterior for the weather. So I install my weatherproof cover for the light switch, and then I'm gonna move on and install it for the outlet. The cover I bought for the outlet is an extension cover which allows you to plug something in and close the cover to protect it from weather such as rain or anything else. So it's an extension cover that I put over this outlet. I did the same with the cover for the input power. When you're done, you can go ahead and place your post into the ground. I went down about 3 feet into the ground, put some cement, and there is my finished product. Now all I have to do is run 100 feet extension wire straight to this pole, and I have power. Subscribe, like, share, comment. See you in the next video, guys.